The morning unfolded like any other in the small town of Asheville, Ohio's tranquil pocket of America, where life rarely strayed from its predictable rhythm. But that fragile sense of normalcy was about to unravel in under an hour. Samuel Carter was 68, his joints aching from years of hard labor, his spine protesting with every sudden twist. He parked his weathered, rust-colored truck in the back lot of Asheville Public Library, as he had nearly every weekday for the past 5 years. His canvas work bag swung lightly against his hip as he trudged toward the maintenance entrance. Pausing near the lot's edge, he crouched slightly to retie the lace of his left boot. Then the cruiser screeched in. It tore across the lot, tires squealing faintly. Samuel barely had time to stand before a sharp siren blip cut the air, followed by a commanding voice, "Hands where I can see them." Startled but calm, Samuel raised his hands steadily. Officer Nathan Brooks, mid-30s with a buzz cut and a strut, had his sidearm drawn, the barrel trained on Samuel's chest. "Don't move," Brooks barked, stepping out. Behind him, Officer Ethan Ramsey emerged more cautiously, hand hovering over his holstered weapon. Samuel's voice remained even. "What's this about?" "Call came in," Brooks said, eyes raking Samuel from head to toe. "Suspicious individual behind the library. Matches your description." "You carrying anything?" "My ID," Samuel answered coolly, "and a licensed firearm in my jacket pocket. Registered and legal." Ramsey tensed at the word firearm. Brooks didn't hesitate. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Samuel complied, his movements steady, betraying a quiet discipline. The cuffs bit into his wrists as Brooks snatched the sidearm from Samuel's coat pocket like it was a live grenade. "Yep, armed," Brooks muttered into his radio. "Uncooperative, erratic behavior. No visible credentials." Across the street, a small crowd began to form. A woman pulled out her phone, recording. Samuel stayed silent, no pleas, no arguments, just a stillness that hid a deeper resolve. He'd faced this before, in different uniforms, under harsher skies. The ride to Asheville PD was brief. Samuel sat in a holding cell, the fluorescent buzz overhead grating. His gray hoodie clung damply from the morning drizzle, his wrists raw from the cuffs. Ramsey typed at a nearby desk, logging details. Brooks leaned against a filing cabinet, cracking jokes with dispatch. "Says he's a janitor at the library," Ramsey said, squinting at the screen. "Carries a gun and a utility knife like he's cleaning floors in a war zone. No priors." "Weird, though," Ramsey added, leaning closer. "There's a hold on his file. Says active asset, do not process." Brooks frowned. "Asset?" Then the screen flashed. "Priority intercept. Federal override in progress." A second line appeared. "Stand by for contact. Do not engage." Before they could process it, the station phone rang. Dispatcher Clara Thompson answered, her face paling within seconds. "Yes, sir." "Understood," she said, voice unsteady. She turned to Brooks and Ramsey. "Stop everything. Don't talk to him. Don't even look at him. Agents are en route." Brooks blinked. "What? Who is this guy?" From the cell, Samuel sat quietly, eyes down. He wasn't anxious. He was waiting. Exactly 7 minutes later, 3 black SUVs rolled into the station lot with surgical precision. 4 federal agents stepped out, clad in sharp suits, moving with the seamless coordination of those accustomed to taking charge. No words were spared. The leader, Agent Marcus Reed, wore a silver tie and carried an air of cold authority, a veteran of the Federal Protective Task Force. "Who detained Samuel Carter?" Reed asked, his voice cutting like a blade. "We did," Brooks said, his bravado fading. "Got a call about a suspicious man." "You ran his ID?" Reed pressed. "Yes, sir," Ramsey stammered. "That was your mistake." Behind them, Agent Lena Kaur was already pulling surveillance footage from the station's servers. Agent Noah Blake spoke softly into a secure line. Inside the cell, Samuel looked up as Reed opened the door. Carter, Reed said, his tone softer now. I'm Agent Reed. You're being extracted, effective immediately. About time, Samuel said, rising slowly. Thought the chain of command had gone soft. Reed gave a curt nod. You've been dark since '08. The trigger pinged when someone leaked the '89 archive. Samuel's eyes narrowed. So, it's out. It's moving, Reed confirmed. Samuel sighed, cracking his knuckles, glancing at the mirrored glass hiding the observation room. They didn't know who I was, he said quietly. But they sure thought they did. In the main room, Agent Core handed Clara a thin manila folder, labeled Carter, classified. Clara opened it. The summary was sparse but chilling. Operative Samuel Carter, embedded 1985 to 2003, classified global operations across Southeast Asia, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. Clearance: Tier Black. Status: Dormant. Reassignment protocol triggered 2016. Risk level: Critical. He still active? Clara asked softly. He was, Reed said. Until your officers nearly blew his cover. Brooks scoffed under his breath. He's just a janitor. He was hiding in plain sight, Reed snapped. That's what deep cover is. He's been marked since the Berlin lists leaked last year. Brooks swallowed hard. Why the gun? Clara asked. Was it true? Laos, the hostage kid. Samuel, overhearing, answered himself. 5 of us went in. I carried him 12 miles on foot after the others didn't make it. Wrapped him in burlap. His ribs were cracked. I remember his eyes, not his name. That part never sticks. The room fell silent. Reed motioned to his team. We've secured transport to a safe house in West Virginia. This won't stay quiet. No, Samuel said. If that file's out, they'll come. And they won't ask questions. 2 weeks later, Asheville PD was transformed. Brooks faced internal review for overzealous tactics. Ramsey was quietly reassigned. Clara was offered a liaison role with Homeland Security, a nod to her sharp instincts. She never saw Samuel Carter again, but 3 months later, a plain envelope arrived in her mailbox, no stamp, no return address. Inside, a handwritten note. Clara. Some think wars end when the bullets stop. They're wrong. It just gets quieter. You didn't need a file to sense something was off. You listened. That's rare. Stay rare. SC. She pinned it inside her locker, kept it secret. Something in her sharpened, not lighter, just clearer. Far off, in a secluded rehab center in the Appalachian Hills, Samuel Carter sat among veterans, most half his age. They shared stories of ambushes, sleepless nights, and guilt that lingered like shrapnel. A young soldier, eyes wet, asked, "Does it ever stop haunting you?" Samuel didn't smile. He gazed out the window. You don't forget. You learn to carry it without losing the rest. Later, a volunteer handed him a sealed file. Inside was a grainy photo, a grown man outside a UN office in Cambodia, holding a sign, "You gave me a chance." I used it. No signature. None needed. Samuel closed the file, leaned back, and shut his eyes. No medals, no fanfare, just truth, heavy and quiet. Some men don't need to shout. They wait for the world to hear. And some secrets, Samuel knew, were meant to stay buried until the right moment. That moment had passed, and now he was ready. He'd vanish again, not out of fear, but because his work, quiet, unseen, wasn't done. The world might never know his name, but those he'd saved carried his shadow forward. That was enough.